disclaimer, let me know at any point if like I'm breaking up or my connection is bad. I am in a hotel, and hotel Wi-Fi, it don't always
Same
want to
here.
cooperate.
But you can go ahead and you can introduce yourself, let people know who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump into the conversation from there because you can speak better for yourself than I can. So you can go ahead.
Okay, well, hello everybody. I am Queen J. Queen J is my alter ego. I don't really go by my government name anymore for other purposes because I along with sex education, I am a sex worker. I am a pro dominatrix, and so just for privacy, safety, family, discrepancy, this is who I am. So if you know me by my government name, now you know me by Queen J. And so I am a sex educator, and I am also getting my certificate as a sex coach. And so a sex coach is very similar to a life coach, except when it comes to sex and your relationships. And so it is my job to debunk myths, re-evaluate miseducation and correct miseducation, and just help clients feel comfortable in their body, in their sensuality, in their relationships, and really learn the anatomy and what's going on with your body sexually and when it's arousal and pleasure, because we're not taught those things in our elementary, or not elementary, but middle school and high school sex education programs. And so this is my passion, to just educate and empower, and mostly women, mostly Black women at that, because female sexuality is not a well developed area. There's not a lot of research, there's not a lot of knowledge, because people just they didn't really see the need to do a separate man then woman of like research and things. And so my goal is just to help women know about their bodies, know what's going on with their bodies when it comes to sexual health, feminine health, sex education, pleasure, all of those things. Follow my other account that was in here, queen.j, J, 2 A's and 1 E. That is my sex. Oh yeah, yes. That is my sex education page. The one that you want to follow is queen.j. And other than that, I think that's me. I graduated from Michigan State, so that's where I know Micah from. And just going on this journey of even self-exploration and helping other people.
This is one of the things that I saw in you and growing, and I think it makes room for a lot more Black women to be able to grow and confident of who they are and stuff like that. Because this is a topic that we tend to like step away from, because I feel like when it comes to Black women doing it and what we want to do in the bedroom, we often get slut shame talked about, or we not allowed to do this, or if we do this, we crazy. Like, it's just all this rhetoric and stereotypes that's just so unnecessary and called for, but you're still gonna do it behind closed doors anyways. Now we consider thoughts, and we can't do this, or we can't wear them type of clothes without being associated with like this. So it, at this point, you either like you're gonna leave it, because you still gonna want to lay in the bed with us at the end of the day. So
that point is so important. I have a passion with kids and educating kids, because I missed out. Like, I'm an adult, and life kind of put me on the path of all of this. But, growing up, I wasn't taught about sex. Sex was not talked about. Of course, in the church, it was bad. You don't have sex until you're married, and then there was a lot of miseducation along with that. But it's like adults think, society thinks that just because we don't talk about it, or just because we shame it, is that we're not going to do it. But sex is a natural thing. It is our innate nature. So we're going to, like, our hormones literally make us crave sex. So it is a natural thing to accept. And so it is like you said, it's going to happen anyway. We're going to engage in sex and sexual activity anyway. So why not have all the information that we can have, so we can be safe and we can experience pleasure the way that we want to, and not the way that society tells us to. And so, yeah, I'm empowerment is a big thing because it's natural. We should not be shamed of a natural thing.
Even when it comes to like masturbation, like don't tell them not to do it because they're going to make them want to do that more. Educate them and show them what it is and how they feel and let them know, you know, like have a real conversation because I never had a real conversation with my parents. I had no birds and the bees. My birds and the bees was BET. Even though that sounds like for real, like, I learned it from
Yeah,
television.
yeah,
Television
and it's
taught me
miseducation.
about sex.
And
So I had to
you
learn.
learn by trial and error.
Exactly. And one thing, and I'm gonna dig into these questions that I had. One thing that I definitely learned on trial and error, and I know this ain't even happened for me yet, but it's okay because I'm gonna get there. Is when it comes to women and it comes to orgasms, because it's always I keep seeing these videos on Twitter and stuff that it be like women like 80% or whatever, some percentage don't have orgasms all of the time, like during sex,
Mm-hmm.
but we know men have them
All
when
the
they want,
time,
like they have them
pretty
all the
much,
time. Like
at
it
least
really
ninety
don't.
percent.
Like all of this, every time they have sex, and then once they get it, it's over. You be like, well,
Yeah,
dang, what's
very
the?
centered around male sexuality, very centered, and women are not considered in the narrative that we're given when it comes to sex and pleasure. And the
Most
thing is like, so when it comes to, because so, and this is something that I've been really trying to emphasize a lot lately, is pleasure cannot happen without arousal. Orgasm cannot happen without arousal. Like it's a whole cycle of of the arousal and the pleasure to even be able to orgasm. Or even when you're talking about, you know, trying to take it up a notch, if you are wanting to explore with the G spot and like with squirting, it's steps before that. You know, everybody wants to be freaky and do all these crazy positions, and like, you know, just they want to do all these extreme freaky things because, you know, culture is telling us like that's, you know, that's what sex and pleasure is, which is no problem, but you're missing steps, you know. And so what I'm trying to do is take it back to the basics and really teach the basics and the fundamentals, anatomy, because even anatomy is so important when it comes to sexuality, because for one, it's different for every woman. Because if you think about the G spot, yes, there's a general area of where you can find, you know, stimulate the G spot in, but it's different for every woman. Like, you know, it may need a different type of stimulation. It may need a different amount of time to be aroused. It may need a certain specific type of attention, or even like a slightly different location, a slightly different size. And so even just knowing your anatomy can take you so much farther in your sexual journey.
I feel like I had to learn it on my own first before I could tell somebody else to do it. But it's getting
Right.
there because it still be like tricky because it's easy for me to get myself an orgasm, no problem at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to direct to tell somebody else, yeah, I want
Right.
like this is right here and not right there. It's or sometimes I be forgetting. I just be like, oh well, at this point,
You just
like
be in the
so
moment, kind of let
it's
it
just a
flow.
moment. And that's another thing too. I was having a conversation with somebody a while back about we was having about like what's considered good sex. And I had told them like I never had an orgasm before and they was like, well, I know you said you had good sex with so and so, but I'm like, but I still had good sex with them because I mean I know I didn't have an orgasm, but I felt like I was still pleased in a way with that person and they still satisfied me enough, but not to an extent I would say to orgasm. So like
Right.
are you still able to have sex with someone and still be aroused without leading like to a sexual like or orgasm like through penetration or whatever the case may be like when it comes
Oh
down to it?
yes. Yes, most definitely. And that's also a very important thing, is that everybody's so worried about orgasms. Everybody's so worried about coming. And I get it. It's a wonderful feeling. But there's so much pleasure in the ride. If we just learned how to slow down and sensitize and stimulate ourselves, like just be in the body. And that's one of the services that I provide, is just teaching methods of sitting in your body and really seeing what it feels like what your yeses feel like, what your no's feel like, what pleasure feels like, what like really actually feeling that, because there's so many times where either there's just so much going in our head to where we're not able to be in that moment, or you just don't really know how to feel. You know, we're so desensitized. We don't pay attention to what we feel, to where we're just looking for that get off. We're looking to come. But that's not all. Like I honestly have accepted not coming all the time. And honestly, like as I'm getting older and I sexually engaged with people who are a little bit more knowledgeable about, they pay attention to the female body. I don't really have issues in that department, but in general, I don't have to come, and I'm okay as long as the experience is pleasurable and satisfying. And I think that's a very important thing, because sex is such a larger picture than what we think about. We're just thinking about it in a very black and white way, but it's so much more than that. It includes so many different things. It can look completely different than we ever thought. Especially me, I'm getting more into kink, and that has opened my mind way up when it comes to sexuality and pleasure. Like, because, even when it comes to kink, people think kink equals sex. You don't have to have sex to involve in kink, but kink can still be very, very pleasurable. So it's like, coming is not the whole picture. Yes, it's fun. Yes, it feels amazing. Sex magic, all of that stuff. But the ride should be just as pleasurable as that moment of release. So yes, orgasm, it should not be the goal. It should not be the goal at all.
I think that's one thing that I definitely learned when it comes to that. Like I've came to the decision that if it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean I'm not gonna have a good time. And I've been more open
Mm-hmm.
as with my partner about introducing things. So like over this past, I would say year or so, I've developed like this. I call it my Pandora's box. I shop at Lover's Lane all the time. Actually, a friend put me hip to this. I've tried out different stuff. I've learned about new different stuff. I was like oils and like lubricants. Just it would be like, or I don't need all that. No, try it out because maybe you never know what you
Mm-hmm.
really need. So that's what I did with myself, and now I got
Yeah.
my little collection. Started my collection with toys and all that as well. Like because I want to make sure that when it comes to my sexuality, my body, I can please myself when I'm with my partner and without. So I don't feel like there's anything
Right.
wrong with that, and that's what I tell people too as well. But one of the next things that I wanted to ask you was like when it comes to like oral sex, because I know for a while this is one thing I used to be like, yeah, I don't know how this gonna work. I wasn't no I don't think nobody's ever really taught how to give head or per se. Even if you watch a million videos, I'm not super head. I'm not about to be doing all that extra stuff. But just like what would you give like for like good tips for like oral sex when it comes to that? Especially for women. And men too, because I think they need to hear it because sometimes y'all be down there licking my thighs, like that's what it feel like I'm saying. So the men needed to, along with the women, like what's really the good tips on how to get like that pleasurable head when it comes to it.
Tip number one is learn your anatomy. That's honestly where I started. So I would say, like, the very beginning of my conscious sexual journey, I was in high school, and since high school, I've always enjoyed giving head. Like, it gives me pleasure to like give other people pleasure, especially in that way. And so when I was in high school, I literally would just Google the anatomy of a man's penis. What's the most pleasurable spot on the penis, and just learning, just everything, just learning the anatomy of the penis, so you know what you're working with, how it works. And so when you learn how it works, then you get an idea of, okay, what's the best stimulation for this spot. And then also just paying attention, like body language. Body language is a very underrated thing when it comes to sex, when it comes to consent as well. But body language, it tells you a lot. Our body on the inside in expressing is, yes, verbal, yes, definitely verbal feedback. I encourage verbal feedback, because it definitely it guides people of what is good for you, like specifically, because you know, it's one thing can work for one woman or one man and not for the next. You know, it may be too much. So like I know people who clitoral stimulation is too much for them. You know, they like penetration over clitoral stimulation, but now it's this thing that, oh the clit, but it's like, no, the clit is not it for everybody. Sometimes it's too much, or sometimes it's desensitized, you know. But yeah, so communication, whether that be verbal or body language, in anatomy, will take you a long way to know, so you know the general of what's going on, how it works, you know, what you can do to it to make it feel good, but also learning what feels good to that person.
That's one thing I learned as well, is to speak. Because I'll be getting into it and I'll be like, all right, I don't want to start. I feel like I'll say something like, it feels okay, but no, I don't want you to stop. But then again, you need to stop. But if it's like super horrible, I would just pull you up. Like, okay, let's try something else. I won't even, because I'll be feeling like I'm gonna hurt somebody else's feelings. But then I
See,
have
and
to
we got to get out
realize
of that. We got to get out of that
I gotta get out of that. Like,
because
I'm
there's
considering
this.
their feelings over how I'm feeling in this moment.
Yeah,
Like, no, this is not
yeah.
okay. Like, you gotta not do that.
And then you got to think, like, you know, there's so many women who are scared to speak up. So men are out here thinking that they the shit. You know, men thinking that they done did
Oh,
the
girl,
dang thing because we
I
out
know a
here
few people
faking or just letting them do what they do. And so they're like, oh, this worked for them, so I'm gonna do this to her. And so now it's just, you know, it's a cycle of men not knowing what they doing and women just accepting it. And so it's like we can't grow, we can't get anywhere different if we don't speak up.
No, we cannot, because I know a few people out here who be lying. That's like, dang. But I think I
Mm-hmm.
like with my partner now, like, we are comfortable enough with each other, and we tell each other, like, okay, yeah, this is what I like. And that's one thing I did too. Like, even before we started having sex, I had a conversation of what I like in the bedroom when it comes to sex and what I don't like, because I never knew when it was gonna pop off, but I had the conversation. And lucky enough, it popped off soon enough. So now he knows, and he's still learning. But I like the fact that he's appreciative of the things that I do and what I want to do, and even when it comes to him. I think that's another thing that allowed me to be more comfortable, because then I discovered stuff about myself. Like, dang, like, I never when I get touched right there, I never knew that was gonna happen. So those were things that I discovered about myself when it came on to that. But my next thing is one thing I know I have an issue with sometimes, because I never know exactly what it is: foreplay. Because my go-to foreplay is kissing, and as soon as I start kissing, I start having sex. But foreplay, that's why I started to like introduce different things into the bedroom, because I wanted to challenge it. But like,
Mm-hmm.
what would you? How important is foreplay, and like how and what are different things that you can do to help enhance it, so that you can feel more, beginning to feel more aroused and like stimulated when it comes to
I
it.
mean, we all know it's talked about all the time. Foreplay is very important because, like I said, there's no pleasure without arousal. If you're not aroused, it's you're not gonna have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just impossible because you know when between hormones and lubrication and everything like that, it needs the arousal to do what it needs to do in order for you to get that pleasurable feeling. But for one foreplay, like yes, okay, we can use foreplay so we know, okay, foreplay is everything but penetration, you know. But foreplay is a way bigger picture than that, because even even giving compliments throughout the day, or you know, little flirting, that's foreplay. You know, foreplay does not just have to be physical, because if you like, for so men are visual, and women are more, a little bit more emotional when it comes to, you know, arousal and pleasure. So for men, like trying to do foreplay for a man, you know, some lingerie, of course, something that if his favorite body part on you is like is your butt, doing something that accentuates your butt, or maybe even, you know, love language is foreplay. So I want people to step out of the physicality of foreplay, because there's plenty of times where even just talking to a guy will get me aroused, can get my panties wet and make me want to have, like,
Mm-hmm.
on the spot, you know, I'm ready right now because
Then
we've
the
been
next
talking
2
freaky
six, you
all
smell it.
day.
I'll be like, you already knew when you came through the door. It's on and popping
Yep,
tonight
because
because
you've been
you
talking
knew
that
it.
shit all day. Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm ready for you. I
Up
don't
with
need no
it.
warm up. Let's go. You
Period.
already know
That's how
what's
it
up.
be. Oof.
People really just need to look past the physical part of foreplay. And everything is foreplay. Intimacy, you know, just building that connection, feeling wanted, feeling desired, feeling pretty, feeling confident. You know, all of those things are very important, because if you don't feel good inside of you, if you don't feel comfortable with the person that you're with, it's likely that you're not going to have the best time. You know, it may be okay, but it's not like, I've had a very wide range of sexual experiences, you know, from that body don't count, we're not counting that body because that shit was trash, to oh my fucking gosh, you ain't going nowhere, you're my lifetime, you know what I mean? So it's like, it does a lot. It does a lot, especially the verbal goes a long way. But really, it's just finding out what your partner likes, because sometimes even just cleaning the kitchen, like having a clean house, relaxes you. That's another thing. Relaxation is very, 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 very important when it comes to pleasure. If you're not relaxed, your body is tense. You know, just think about things closing off, whether it's your nerves, your nerve endings, all those things are tense. So there's no way that it can receive pleasure if it's tense. Or even your mental, if you're thinking about 100 things, if you're thinking about having to pay bills, if you're thinking about having to clean the house or whatever, like, it's impossible for you to relax and be able to be in the moment and experience the pleasure that's happening in front of you.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I've learned as well. Um, and something that I do, especially when I notice, like I don't do it all the time, but like when when I've been out drinking, I will already be like, before I even start, like if I see you a text tonight, you already know what it's for. Like just confusion, like just get that out the way. I like, you know, and he knows it, and this would be so funny. So I'll be like, oh, if I call you, I'm going out. Yes, I'm ready, because that's when I am the most relaxed, when I'm not thinking about a lot of stuff,
Yep.
and I
Mm-hmm.
automatically like drinking, especially when I get high. It makes me feel like so like I can feel everything, like I like the hairs on my skin, like I feel it. So then I want to feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. I just get horny like automatically. So I be trying to get to him right away. Like, listen, I gotta go now. Even when it don't like liquor, when I'm not drinking, like we'll text each other like, oh, I can't wait to see you so I can do X, Y, and Z. Like
Yep. See,
we'll be
that's
laughing and
foreplay.
joking, but we really be like talking, because I'm gonna get down to it when I see you. Like I'm not playing.
Right.
Like, that's how
Right.
it be feeling. It feels so good.
And I do want to touch on what you mentioned. It's very important to talk about expectations and desires before you get intoxicated,
Mm-hmm.
because as we know, intoxicated, inebriated people cannot give consent. So I like that you mentioned that.
I don't want it to be no confusion, because you have to let them know, like, because that's a very strong, like, a sticky area, like, kind of a gray area. I don't want to scare nobody, make them feel uncomfortable. So yeah, I'll tell them like, just know, before I get started in my situations, my shenanigans, I know, I already know how I am. Like
Mm-hmm.
even when I'm sober, I know exactly what I'm gonna do when I'm not sober. I want to sleep with you tonight. That's how it be. So I
Right.
definitely do agree with that 100% about having that conversation, because that's not something everybody might not be comfortable with. So before you do it,
Right.
definitely have that conversation. This is what I did want to talk about: positions. Only
Mm-hmm.
because I definitely do think I'm basic when it comes to positions, and I'll be trying to learn something new, because I know somebody mentioned this before, and I know how true it is. A girl told me like she had to learn how to position herself differently when it came to sex, because that helped with her orgasms and different things and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when it comes to like trying to learn them or do something different, like what, like suggestions and stuff like that.
So first of all, I would say just always keep an open mind, whether it's positions or, you know, getting toe sucked, you know, something like that. Like we have a saying in the kink world, never yuck anybody's yum. Because for one, like, you know, as long as it's safe and consensual, everybody's desires and preferences are valid. And two, you never know what you're gonna like until you try it. Like I really do. I'm a person, I would try anything once. Like for the most, I mean, you know, some things I do have some hard limits where it's just like, yeah, no. But in general, I would try anything about once. When it comes to positions, one easy way to try different positions is just to use different furniture, because you know beds are always, you know, bed is a common a easy go-to. And when you're in the bed, you know, there's already certain positions that, you know, you just automatically just fall into. But if you step out of your usual and use the kitchen counter, or you know, the couch, or even the floor, or whatever, like it puts you in a different headspace. So it forces you to be a little bit creative of, you know, of what you do. I will say somebody who's in here, the sexual artist, that's somebody, he actually teaches and shows and names different sex positions.
Let me follow. Let me write. Let
The
me follow.
sexual artist.
Yes, let me follow because
And it's
most
some
definitely.
real creative, real intimate, and I recommend, because I don't want to speak too much on positions, just because that's not my specialty.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can point you to somebody who can tell you. But yeah, just be creative with furniture and things like that. Or even if, you know, maybe you have a ducked off balcony, you know, don't public sex, don't do it, you know, it's illegal. But you know, in the car, you know, some sneaky
Or
stuff
your
at night.
house. You could have a balcony at your crib.
Yeah,
And
you
ain't
know,
nobody in your backyard.
if
So
it's either ducked off or it's, you know, nighttime or something, just step out of your comfort zone, and it will force you to get creative. It really will. Positioning is very important, especially for women, especially for Black women, because you know we have a lot of feminine reproductive issues, especially painful sex and things like that. In positioning, because I used to experience painful sex, and I know plenty of women who experience
I definitely
painful
did
sex.
experience painful sex. I just be like, no, it's so
Yes.
no,
In positions is the thing that helps, because like for one, like knowing your anatomy also helps, because you know most of the time men are just, they just penetrate in your cervix, and
like this.
that's like
That's what it
getting
feel
your
like.
your getting your cervix rammed. It may feel good, but you have to be aroused first. Like you got to do it the right way. But it's like knowing your anatomy helps with positioning, because it lets you know, like, you know, it teaches you what angles to hit and all that stuff. One thing is like having the man positioned high. So let's say if you're getting the doggy style, having the man positioned a little bit higher instead. So it's like the angling doesn't necessarily directly hit your cervix, and then it angles down. So then that's where your G spot is. So it's like
That's
and
where that curved penis come in.
yo, them curved penises are a
Oh,
blessing. Are a blessing. Look,
whoa, yes, cause
look. Oh my gosh, for the first time I was playing with this guy, and his dick was curved down. I have never seen. I mean, of course, I knew it's possible. I've never seen it. I've only seen the side curves. I heard about the up curve, but I haven't been with one. But his was curved down, and that was like very interesting. Very interesting. Them curved
man, I
dicks.
seen a TikTok
Bless the
video of
men who
why
have
penis curves. This doctor had explained it, and I was sitting there like, here's these Captain Hooks that everybody keeps talking about.
them.
I was
Yeah.
just like, yes, like
People, vagina lovers, vulva lovers, need to understand that the vaginal canal doesn't have very much feeling. It can't, because otherwise giving birth will probably be even more painful and more dire than it is right now. So
whew,
the vaginal canal doesn't have much feeling. Like if you lick the inside of your cheek and see what that feels like with your cheek, that's what it feels like in your vagina. And so you have to like think about that when it comes to, you know, guys are so quick with penetration, but it's like that's not always what we need. You know, you have to incorporate different things to arouse so that penetration can feel good.
Now I'm gonna say that. So when they don't understand, so like just lick your cheek.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I
I,
want you to know. That's how it feels. But it's
mm,
okay because we're gonna work through this and we're gonna get through it because this is something that we all really need to get more into and feel more comfortable with. Because I used to low key feel embarrassed. Like even when I first started going to Lovers Lane, I used to be in there like, I hope don't nobody see me. But now I don't care.
yeah.
I'm pull up with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I be taking my friends like, look, girl, like let me put you hip to what we need to do. And also one thing that I want more people to be more comfortable doing and talking about is masturbation, because I feel like even when we talk about masturbation, it's just like we're not supposed to do that. So we're not supposed to have sex and now we're not supposed to masturbate. Like which one is it? Like
Right.
we need to be able to be comfortable with doing both because we trying to get to where we want to go just like everybody else, and we want to feel satisfied and aroused. And we're grown enough to do it. We need to be grown enough to talk about it and everything
Yep.
that goes.
Exactly. Even the act in the process and journey of becoming comfortable, you don't have to just, be talking about it out in public and screaming it from the rooftop because, that's not everybody's forte. That's my forte, but, you ain't got to be all extra with it. But even just talking with it with your partner or with your close friends is important, and it helps liberate you in the bedroom, because when you talk about it, you're getting more comfortable with it. Two, you're realizing that your experience is not isolated. People are having very similar experiences as you, and it also helps to learn different things that you may want to try. So if communication about it just really helps, because like once you're able to talk about it, then I feel like that's when you're able to be more empowered and take the lead in the control of your pleasure in the bedroom, and not relying on your partner to figure your body out,
Right.
because like
I
is
tell people, if you're not reading my mind, then I'm not telling you. No, I
right.
want you to do both. I
And
want you to read my
yep,
mind and my body and my
right,
lips and my
right,
words. Listen to what I
yeah,
say. I want
yeah,
you to do everything now. So
yeah, yeah.
that's
It's important to be able to talk about it, because like, yes, body language, and like, figuring out what works generally for whatever sex you're attracted to,
mm-hmm.
but you're not going to know until those words come out of your mouth, and it's not fair to expect somebody to know what you want without saying it. Knowing yourself and then communicating that is very important. And that's why masturbation needs to be accepted more, because masturbation is how you learn what you like. Because and with kink, we always say try it on yourself first. With anything that you want to try with a partner, try it with yourself first. See if you like it. Get comfortable with it, and then you have an idea of where you stand with that, and so now you can bring it to your partner with knowledge, and so you can help them understand, instead of both of y'all not knowing, getting frustrated with each other because both of y'all don't know, but y'all not doing what you want, but you don't know what you want. You can't expect somebody to know what your body needs and what you want if you don't even know what you need and what you want.
But I want to appreciate you so much, Queen J, for joining me tonight. I want you to just to like reiterate like the different services or anything that you offer that the people can join into if they want to reach out, or how to get in contact with you before we close out.
Always a pleasure. But I do peer sex consultations, sex coaching. And so that is a talk based service. I have different methods and different exercises to help, especially women, in their confidence. Because, like I said, being comfortable in your own body is the first step to being able to experience pleasure with somebody else. And along with that, I do have kinky services as a pro dominatrix for people who are curious and exploring their more kinky side. I do offer sessions to as a top, just dominatrix is me doing unto you. It is not sex. It is just exploring kinky activity. Put that out there. It's not sex. But for people who want to explore their more kinky side in a safe and non-judgmental way, I do offer those services for both men and women. I do have more services coming. I am in the works of rebuilding my website right now. So the best advice is just to follow my main page, queen.j.
We will be probably be reaching out again soon if I ever have any more questions, because
Yes,
now I'm my go-to person. I don't know nobody else. And I definitely think, and when it comes to areas like this, representation matters. So
right.
this weekend and every other day after that, I'm supporting Black-owned businesses. I hope you're relaxing wherever you are.
Yes, I'm
And
going to a sex party tonight.
oh snap! So that's something I don't know. I think in the near future, I'm talking about. I think I'll make it the kinkiest. Like when it comes to this, when I'm
Mm-hmm.
with somebody who I know I'm married
Comfortable.
and I'm most comfortable with. Like
Yeah.
I gotta get past my I ain't doing that.
Exposure is the first step, because I think people think that, especially when it comes to like sex parties, people think that it's like these expectations and that like you're just expected to participate or to do X, Y, and Z. There's plenty of people who go to these sex parties and they just watch, especially if they have the voyeur kink of watching people in sexual natures. Like you can just watch and get comfortable in if you're interested in that type of space. But just going to watch, just seeing what it's about, seeing what people do there, because it's a lot of misconception when it comes to sex. Anything dealing with sex, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like people's minds just, they just jump to infinity. And it's like, to be honest, it really don't even be that deep. And it's personal. It's what you want to make it. It's what you want it to look like. So don't ever feel like your sexuality, your expression, your activity, your habits have to look like anything. As long as you're being safe and it's consensual on all involved parties,
Mm-hmm.
do what you want to do and don't do what
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let anybody guilt you into anything or even feel like there's any type of expectations when it comes to your sensuality.